Okay, so there's a lot of talk in our society about freedom, right? And that seems to be a big value. But if that's a big value, and of course in Judaism it is as well, but we have to clarify what we mean by freedom, right? Because society is different. When you scratch the surface, society's definition is very different than Judaism's definition, right? If you were to go walk around in the street and ask average Joe in the street, gut response, what is freedom? So probably what it will come down to is freedom. I'm free to do whatever I feel like doing, whenever I feel like doing it. But let's see if that definition really holds true, right? Me and my wife have this friend who, when she was at the young age of 11 years old, she heard about this new cool thing called smoking. She figured she's got to give it a try. So she finds her way to a cigarette, her and a friend, and they started smoking at 11 years old. Now, what do you think? They liked this first cigarette? No, of course not. But they were so intelligent already at 11 that they understood that this is one of those finer tastes of life that need to be acquired. So they continue to, this girl continues to smoke from time to time, sneak smokes, until she goes from someone who doesn't really enjoy smoking to a smoker, right? And so, of course, fast forward now 20 years, she still to this day is smoking. And you know what they say about a smoker, or they know what they say about quitting smoking, right? That quitting smoking is very easy. Every smoker does it at least once a month, right? So she's obviously tried to quit smoking a number of times. Sometimes she's stopped for a little while, but she always comes back to it, right? But she wants to quit, right? So now, when she goes ahead today and picks up that cigarette and starts smoking, right? Would we say that there's an expression of her freedom, an expression of her free self? Of course not, right? But she is doing whatever she feels like, whenever she feels like it, right? However, it comes out that we see that this isn't really the definition of freedom. In a sense, really, this is this certain form of slavery, right? Imagine there was a guy who lived by this motto of freedom, right? That what freedom is, whatever I feel like doing, whenever I feel like doing it. And this guy, he lived by it for his entire life, 70 years, 120 years. This guy lived whatever he feels like doing, he does it right then and there, and that's it, right? So imagine after this guy lives a full life, 120 years like this, right? Imagine this guy then goes back upstairs to God, and God says to him, so, I gave you 120 years on planet Earth. What'd you do with your time? What's he going to say back to God, right? He'll say, God, you'll never believe it. Whatever I felt like doing, whenever I felt like doing it, that's exactly what I did. Right? So what does God say to this guy? He says, okay, you belong over there. You go with the donkeys. You go to donkey heaven. That's what they do. Whatever you feel like doing, whenever you feel like doing it, that's animal living. Right? Where's the assertion of the I? Where is the freedom of self? Right? Let me give you another story, another smoking tale. Right? A little more personal this time. My grandfather, he was a little late to the smoking game. He started when he was 15, 16 years old. Right? Of course, as he got older, as he got married, as he got a family, everybody hated it. But that all changed a little bit changed later on. My uncle started to appreciate a good cigar from time to time, and therefore became my grandfather's default ally in the family. Right? Until one day, when my grandfather's getting older, starts smoking a little more. Health maybe isn't what it used to be. Right? It starts to. At that point, my uncle one day sits down across from him, and there's my grandfather with the pipe and the newspaper, and my uncle says to him, you know, Dad, the smoking, it's getting to be a bit much. You're getting older. Your health isn't what it used to be. It's enough already. That moment, my grandfather looks at my uncle, looks at the pipe, looks at my uncle, puts down the pipe, and never picks it up again. After 40 years of smoking, quits on the spot. Right? Now, a minute later, when my grandfather gets the urge to smoke, and he puts it down, and he does not pick it up, right? Would we say that that's an expression of his freedom? Would we say that that's an expression of his free self? Certainly, right? But is he doing whatever he feels like doing whenever he feels like doing it? Certainly not, right? So we see that what freedom really is not I'm free to do whatever I feel like doing whenever I feel like doing it. No, that's animal living. That's being, you have certain instincts, certain inclination, and you're just following up on that. You're a follower. You're being a slave to that. That's not freedom of self. Real freedom means the ability to go ahead and to make a free choice. We could say that freedom isn't I'm free to do whatever I feel like doing whenever I feel like doing it. That's not freedom. Real freedom is I'm free to do even that thing that I don't feel like doing. Right? When we have a certain ideal, when we have a certain vision of the path that we believe we should be going, the path we want to be going in, despite the fact that we don't feel like doing it right now, and we override those first feelings of not wanting to do it, we override it to go ahead and follow our path, our vision, our ideal, whatever it might be. That's true freedom. And that's also, those are the people who we, by the way, who we admire. Those are the people who we respect. People who are certain principled people. People who live above their seeming circumstances. People who they get up in the morning and it's almost as if they made a decision that morning to be happy no matter what comes in their way. They're living above those things that the stimuli that's coming their way. They are able to part from them. They are not reactive. They're proactive. They're able to rise above. That's true freedom. That's true freedom of self, right? And so this is really what we're talking about in Judaism, right? In Judaism, we're saying that there's two stages. Yeah, there's freedom from, right? You want to be free from constraints, right? You want to be free from these things, and that means to go ahead and to rise above, come outside of yourself, free yourself from yourself. And the next question becomes, okay, now that I'm free from myself, what am I going to do with that freedom? Now that I'm a free self and I'm able to live beyond, where am I going with that? That's where Judaism comes in. That's where the Torah comes in. Right? And this is the reason why we find the Jewish people, when they're going to get the Torah, what has to happen first is they first have to leave Egypt. They have to leave the Egypt of their lives, leave those things that were constraining them, that were blocking them on all levels, physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual. And then they come to that place of desert. And what's in the desert? Nothing. Pure nothingness, right? True, you're able to leave from the constraints of my life, the physical constraints and the inner constraints, psychological constraints, my nature, my nurture, and open myself up to true openness, true open-mindedness, the nothingness of the desert, and then it's from that place of openness and personal desert and nothingness, openness, it's from that place that I'm able to go ahead and truly receive something new into my life, truly take on the Torah. So there's two stages. There's the freedom from, and then the freedom for.